Thank you for relief. Man, I'm not gonna let you down, man.
I just want you to believe in me. I just want you to believe in me, Coach. I will die on that field for you.
Terrible.
Let's get the way!
My favorite moment of the draft, dreams being realized. Damian, what's yours?
Yeah, listen, when Baron Sorrell, the draft pick for the Green Bay Packers, you know, getting drafted on day 3, and for him to stay in the green room and to be drafted by the Green Bay Packers, man, that was a hell of a moment right there. And for the Packers fans to really embrace him, and he embraced the Packers fan. That was, to me, that was the best moment in the draft.
I love that. He stuck around and got to soak it all in, had fun up there on stage, shaking Goodell's hand. All right, going back to the story of the draft. Gentlemen, we had a spirited conversation earlier about whether what was done to Shedeur Sanders was fair. Now, after Shedeur was drafted, he reflected on how the whole process went. Here's what he had to say in a conference call to reporters. I feel like in life, there's always a way I can improve. I'm able to improve. And some things that I did that seems right at the time, I could have went about it in a different way. Stephen A., he's continued to be just humble and grateful through this entire process, obviously dropping what we thought was going to be a first-round pick to the 5th. Your thoughts?
Well, he did. And I'm quite sure he wasn't flawless in this whole process. I think that's easy to figure out with the things that have been written and said in terms of his attitude, his bravado, etc. There is no doubt that Deion Sanders didn't handle things flawlessly as well, and we all have to concede that. Leaning on what Louis Riddick said, it's not a perfect science. These are human beings, and things affect people differently. I get that part. But I do think it's important to highlight this, and please leave Louis up on the screen so I can see him. It is important to ask this question. What exactly has Deion done? He has an exceptional relationship with the league office. He used to work at CBS. He worked at the NFL Network. He loves kids. He believes in being a role model to raising young men, boys into becoming young men. He is universally recognized as one of the greatest talents the sport has ever seen, if not the history of athletics has ever seen. This man goes to the collegiate ranks. He's won at HBCUs. He's winning at Colorado. Okay, never been in any trouble. Okay, so this is not one of those situations where you look back at his playing career in the National Football League and he was some cancerous individual in a locker room or anything like that. You hear coaches and former players raving about what a leader he was, the hard work that he put in, the dedication, what he did to uplift people, what level of assistance he provided to other people that may have needed it, who may have been teammates, coaches, and beyond. You ever listen to the way Louis Riddick talks about Deion? You ever listen to the way other cats talk about Deion? And I'm not throwing any shade on a guy like Terrell Owens, for example, who should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, right? But we all knew the storylines that came with him. We knew the storylines that came with the Warren Sapps of the world or whatever. Where are they at now? Where do you see them now? They're on that damn sideline at Colorado. You know what I'm saying? Because Deion is always looking to extend and help, which is something the league applauds. So my point is that whatever imperfections he may have exercised leading up to the draft, it wasn't worth sending a message to him through his son, of all people. A son who performed, a son who was clearly at least the second best quarterback in the draft. We're talking about the most important position in football. To let this man drop to 144, to have this man endure 4.5 rounds where he's not even mentioned, knowing that his talent warranted. And what has Shedeur Sanders done? This is what he does with the watch. Okay, that's about it. He ain't getting in any trouble off the field. He's not acting up. He's not being some irresponsible individual or what. He puts in the work. So I'm just looking at all of that. I'm like, you can have the human element all you want to, but there are human imperfections. And some of those owners and some of those executives, they should be ashamed of their damn selves for what they did to Shedeur Sanders because they were really targeting primetime Deion Sanders. And I think it's egregious considering who he is and what he has meant to football on the pro and collegiate level. He deserved better.
Yeah, look, I'll start with Shedeur. I'll start with Shedeur. Look, there's no question that Shedeur understands, based off of some of his comments, that there were probably some things that he could have done differently, that he should have done differently when he was going through the pre-draft process, specifically, between the time period of January up until the draft, where you're getting in front of people and you're trying to give them a view into who you are as a person, what you stand for, what you're going to bring to the organization. And it's important to understand your audience and understand what kind of perception that you're giving off, because what it is, whether we like it or not, I don't even know why we wouldn't like it. We understand it. It's a job interview. That's what it is, right? So you're going to have to handle that accordingly. There's going to be times where you can authentically really put yourself out there and let people see who you are. And there's going to be times where you have to understand your audience and understand that, look, maybe I need to pull back here or pull back there because I don't want people to perceive me in the wrong way. Because ultimately, what I want is I want to be drafted high. I want to be compensated and rather valued appropriately. And I want to have a long career. And these are the people who are controlling that for me. So I have to make sure I'm aware of that. And I'm sure that's probably some of the things that he's talking about. Maybe somewhere along the line, a few places, a few different interviews, maybe I didn't come off the way I needed to. Maybe I wasn't prepared the way I needed to be. As far as Deion is concerned, all people see is prime time. They will never not see him as prime time because they don't know him, Stephen A. They were never in a locker room with him. They never sat in his office out there in Boulder. They never had a conversation with him on the phone. They were never invited to speak to his team and talk to them about what it means to be a professional, what it means to look beyond your career on the football field and how important that is. They don't understand how much he values those kinds of things. They don't know what kind of teammate he was, how selfless he was, how human he was to me as a rookie who was just signed off the street down there in Atlanta. And my very first start in my professional career, he was there by my side and asking me, "Are you good? Are you good, Rook? Are you good? Don't worry about me. Just make sure you got what you got. This is what you need to." See, people don't know that about him. They just see the glasses, they just see the chains, they just see the flash, they just see the highlights of him dancing and having a good time in Atlanta and San Francisco and Dallas, man. They don't know him. And until you know him, you should probably temper some of your comments that you have about him.
Yeah, listen, there's really nothing more for me to say on this aspect because I thought both you and Lewis did an absolutely fantastic job of just explaining, why is Deion Sanders being excoriated in this whole process. Maybe there were some things that Shedeur Sanders could have done better in the pre-draft process. I think for us right now, it's just spinning it forward to the whole prank call situation.
Yeah, we need to get into that because it gets even more egregious. Okay, so here's the deal. During day 2 of the NFL draft, Shedeur Sanders was seen on his stream receiving a prank call that he'd been drafted. So the son of Atlanta Falcons defensive coordinator Jeff Ulbrich admitted to being behind the call made to Shedeur and apologized to him in an Instagram post on Sunday. The NFL looking into the situation, specifically how Sanders' private number was.
Chào cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình ngày hôm nay mình có hạt nhựa màu trắng và dây xỏ để hướng dẫn các bạn làm vòng nhé. Nước đây. Ao ở đâu vậy? Hả? Ao ở đâu? Ao ở đèn. Nước khó. Cái nước làm gì đấy vậy?